Good afternoon, children. This is my second video on the topic Kingdom Protista, which we started yesterday, and we studied about the general characteristics of the unicellular eukaryotic microorganisms. We studied all about the general characteristics, about their nutrition, reproduction, etc. And then we studied about the major groups of protists, and I explained you broadly there are three major groups. First is protestant algae, second is slime molds, and the third is protestant protists. To remind you once again, children, the syllabus is emphasizing this year on two general characteristics and only two examples. And I showed you yesterday how in your book there are many characteristics given, but you have to select any two to study. This group we completed yesterday, right? The protestant algae, the ones that are responsible for 80% of photosynthesis in the biosphere. This is further studied under three heads. Group 1, dinoflagellates, Group 2, chrysophytes, and Group 3, euglenoids. So today we will start with the other two groups, that is slime molds and protestant protists. Alright, so this topic is very small, children. It's only about the things given for the classification purpose. So this is what we did yesterday, protestant algae, and we studied dinoflagellates, characteristics and examples. I have specially written any two, though I have given you at least some 3 to 4 simple ones. In your book there are even more. Here, then we started with chrysophytes and then euglenoids. Today, we are going to start with the second group under Kingdom Protista, and this group is called as slime molds. More appropriately, we can call the slime molds as consumer decomposer protists. Very truly, yes, they are saprotrophic protists, and the unique thing is that the members during their early vegetative stage, they resemble an animal-like life, right? But at the time of their reproductive stage, they show a greater resemblance to plant-like behavior. They do not have a cell wall, right? And due to the same reason, they show amoeboid movement. This group slime molds, we will divide into two further subgroups. We can call first is acellular or plasmodial slime molds, and the second group is cellular slime molds. Alright. Now slime molds generally, children, they are seen during the rainy season. Just a brief introduction, especially where? In cool, shady and moist places and decaying logs of wood, etc. Alright. Cell wall, it's only present in the spores. Alright. And they show a wide range of coloration. So let us start with the first group, that is acellular or plasmodial slime mold. I'll show you first how it looks like. The example is Physarum. This is the acellular slime molds, right? And these are two sporangia seen on the sporophore into the organism. Now, as I said, children, the slime molds grow in damp, cool and shady places. They are saprophytic in nature for nutrition, but some are parasitic. Now, they are also supposed to be carried under class Myxomycetes. Why? Because many mycologists, that is those scientists who study fungi, right, they have placed them with fungi in the class Myxomycetes due to presence of cell wall around the spores. That is the fungal cellulose that is made up of, and that is why they are included in Myxomycetes. The second characteristic is they grow on dead, decaying leaves, plants, vegetative matter, grass, etc. during rainy season. Third, the vegetative body is called a plasmodium, which consists of a multinucleate protoplasm, and this is covered with slime. Alright. Cyst, these are resistant cysts, and sclerotium, these are functional as perinating organs. Perination means the one which can withstand extremes of temperatures, right? very hot or dry, and then very freezing temperatures, etc. And this helps them to survive in unfavorable conditions. Two examples, one I have shown you is Physarum and the other is Fuligo. So again children, only two characteristics, any out of this. Remember why they have been called under Myxomycetes, because of their resemblance with the fungal structures, that is the presence of cell wall of fungal cellulose on the spores. Coming to the second group, which is cellular slime molds. The cellular slime molds, here we can call them under class Acrasiomycetes. Acrasiomycetes. Now these, they are found in the litter present over bark of plants and rotting wood, right? The second is, these have a more complex life cycle. Third, they are of attractive colors and are of artistic value. And fourth, thousands of unicellular amoeboid structures called myxamoebae aggregate into slimy mass. So you have to learn at least two out of these. Examples would be Dictyostelium and Acostelium. Alright, so Dictyostelium, I'll show you. The life cycle is given into your book, something like this. You can see these are the cellular slime molds, the life cycle, but you don't have to study the life cycle children. Only you can see how the Plasmodium or Pseudoplasmodium is going to be responsible for formation of these fruiting bodies. So children, as I have shown you, now I'll show you in the textbook, it's given like this. Page number is 2.30, slime molds, starts from here. Then it continues as acellular, the first subgroup I told you, the life cycle, not required at all. Then further continues as the sexual reproduction, not required again. Then cellular slime molds, characteristics, life cycle, sexual and significance with all the differences. So in all these 4 to 5 pages, you only have to study any two general characteristics and two examples. I hope you understand. Moving to the next and the last group under kingdom Protista is the Protistan Protists, and this we are going to start. This will be the end of this topic in the kingdom Protista. So this group, here it's specially mentioned in the syllabus that the mode of locomotion is to be studied. This we have to study under 4 headings. Group 1, Zooflagellata. Group 2, Rhizopoda. Group 3, Sporozoa. And Group 4, Ciliata. Yesterday we discussed about the members, right? Today we'll talk about the other details. So let us start with the last group. This we have completed. Moving to our last group, that is Protistan Protists. Protistan Protists, these are unicellular and they have pseudopodia, flagella or cilia for their locomotion. See, under this children, the major syllabus point is the same, two general characteristics, two examples, but the characteristics should include the mode of locomotion. That's for to be studied very carefully. So first thing is, they are unicellular, they have pseudopodia or false feet or flagella or cilia, depends on which subclass you're going to study. Contractile vacuole in freshwater forms to eliminate excess water from the body, which swells up and bursts, right, after reaching a peak size. Formation of cyst during unfavorable conditions, right, that could be seen in the general characteristics. Then also some important ones. If I show you the members of Protistans, this is like these: Giardia. Then the second one you can see. The third, this is Leishmania, the Trichomonas, Trichonympha. This is the one present in the termites. Alright. Then moving to the group now. Group is number 1, that is Zooflagellata. Here, let's talk about the examples first. It is Trypanosoma gambiens. Trypanosoma gambiens is the one that is the causative agent of African sleeping sickness, right? And the second example is Leishmania donovani, and this causes Kala Azar. Here, the locomotory organ is flagella, right? These are the organelles for locomotion and also food capture. Saprotrophic nutrition, that is, they derive nutrition from dead decaying organic matter. All right. Then, third, some are parasitic in humans and other animals and produce a number of diseases. So this is what you can see. We have here Giardia, etc. If I show you the examples, this is one member under the class Zooflagellata. Then Leishmania, as I said, donovani. This is the one causing Kala Azar. You can see how it is clearly a flagellate structure and definitely saprotrophic. But yes, it causes a number of diseases. Like Kala Azar is one, as we can see. Seen in Asian countries, Africa and America. And this is the one that causes enlargement of liver and spleen accompanied by anemia. Moving to group 2, that is Rhizopoda. This includes Sarcodine protozoan protists. Examples, let us see first, Amoeba proteus and Entamoeba histolytica. See the organisms first. This is Amoeba proteus, the immortal animal, what we call. It changes shape every second. And then Entamoeba histolytica, the one with blunt pseudopodium, and this is the causative agent of amoebic dysentery. So the first thing to describe the characteristic under Rhizopoda is that pseudopodia are the organelles for locomotion and food capture. Second, contractile vacuole are meant for osmoregulation, that is maintaining the water balance in the body, and body is covered by plasma lemma or a shell. So you can see this body that is covered by the outermost limiting membrane as plasma lemma, and this is a pulsating contractile vacuole. Moving to the third is group 3 Sporozoa or the parasitic protozoan protists. Now parasitic, these are examples, to be more clear, can be Plasmodium, the causative organism for malaria, and Monocystis. But the most important thing is that these do not have any locomotory organ. For example, flagella, like you saw here, flagella are present. Here you saw that pseudopodia are present, and in one more, that is ciliata, cilia would be present. But only in this, there are nothing found. No cilia, no flagella, no pseudopodia. They are all absent. So the question arises, how do they move? They move by means of a vector or a carrier. So what is the vector in a malarial disease? Yes, it is female Anopheles. So this is how they move, by means of a vector, right? And life cycle may include more than one host. For example, Plasmodium, we know that it is digenetic, that it requires two hosts. One is the Anopheles, female Anopheles, which is primary host, and the second is the secondary host, which is a man or a human being. So this is how it carries the life cycle. Moving to the last, that is group is Ciliata. Example is Paramecium and Balantidium coli. Right? Let us see the Paramecium. Yesterday I told you how it is called as a slipper animalcule due to the resemblance with the fact that it resembles a slipper. So what are the organs of locomotion, children? You can see these small structures present all over the body, and what do you call them? We call them as cilia. Alright, so you can see here the cilia, they are covering entire body, right? The row of cilia as it is clearly seen here. So the organelles for locomotion are cilia, and trichocysts are the organelles of defense which are ejected out to stun the prey. Let us see what are trichocysts. Here you can see these just below the outer limiting layer. There are present structures called as trichocysts, and they are known to cover the entire inner part of the boundary wall, right? Or the pellicle. This outer limiting membrane is called pellicle, and trichocysts that are present throughout, they are known to be defensive in nature because they'll be ejected out to stun the prey. Then two types of nuclei can be seen. One is a big macronucleus or the vegetative, and the other is a small micronucleus or the one that is important for sexual reproduction. So that's another two type of nuclei. Large macronucleus controls vegetative activities and the small micronucleus that is known to take part in sexual reproduction. So this is all about this topic, children. Let us see once again what we have done today. Today I have started with the slime molds. General characteristics we studied under two heads. Group 1, acellular or plasmodial slime molds, and group 2 was cellular slime molds. And then we came to the third group of protista, protist, general characteristics, and 4 subgroups: zooflagellata, characteristics and examples; rhizopoda, characteristics, again 2 characteristics, 2 examples; group 3, that is sporozoa, and group 4, that is ciliata. I want to show you, because this topic as it is over, I want to show you the syllabus, hoping that you have a parallel copy of the same, that how exactly you have to study the things. This is all that is mentioned for kingdom protista. Only 2 general characteristics and 2 examples of subgroups, chrysophytes, dinoflagellates and euglenoids we did yesterday. Today we are completing slime molds, protozoans, right? To be studied under rhizopoda, flagellates, ciliates and sporozoans. So this is what we have studied. These are sporozoans, ciliates, then flagellates and rhizopods, right? With 2 characteristics including modes of locomotion and 2 examples of each. With that we complete the kingdom protista, which was our 6th topic from the beginning of our syllabus. And I'll once again show you in how many pages we have completed this. Number 1, this is page number 2, and this is going horizontally, children, like this. You're writing it both, completing in the pages like this. So this is the 3rd page and the 4th page. Alright, this also you have to study and write in a parallel way like this. Again like this, you're going left to right the complete page. So this is the 5th and the 6th page. So I'm going to send you today's pages, just 4 pages therein, 3.5 pages rather. Please see that you complete the things, and that completes our 6th topic on kingdom protista. Tomorrow we will start with our 7th topic, and the topic will be on cell division. Kindly go through your previous information of class 10 textbook, cell cycle and cell division, so that we can study this better tomorrow. Thank you.